Listen to this important clip that we have here about exciting events happening with the stock market tomorrow on November 1st, kicking off November, and why this is really important for Palantir, especially with earnings that will be reported that following day.
What to watch on Wednesday? Fed Chair Jerome Powell will take to the podium once again with the central bank's latest rate decision. The press conference set to begin at 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Expectations are widely set for the Fed to extend a recent pause on interest rates. Investors will be looking for any hints if another rate hike is on the table. And moving on to the labor front, ADP is going to release its national employment report. The latest numbers will reveal the change in U.S. private employment in October. This coming after September showed the slowest pace of growth since January 2021.
All right, there you have it. Some of the key highlights we're going to be looking for tomorrow is the Fed. Likely what analysts are predicting is them to hold the constant interest rates for longer. And this could be bullish, especially with lots of rate hikes that we have seen throughout the year. And we see a little momentum into the markets today as the S&P, NASDAQ, Dow Jones all actually have a green day. And congratulations to Palantir Technologies finally gets a green day, even though we're seeing consolidation, but up about 0.75% with a little bit of consolidation finding support. What we're going to be talking about in this video is Q3 expectations, because we have Palantir that's going to be releasing those earnings. That report's going to be coming out November 2nd. That's going to be Thursday, not tomorrow, but the following day, pre-market. We could have a lot of volatility, especially with Palantir triggering a little bit of a reversal here and finding support. Where is it going to go in the near future, or where could it possibly go in the long term? Now, if you're new to the channel or a returning viewer, thank you guys so much for watching. Hit that like button, subscribe for daily videos, and let's get into it. First of all, let's talk about Palantir Technologies, and what we saw on the day was them finishing at 1480. Great to see there, and zooming in a little bit, finding support right at about that 1450, 1460 level. Where we have is at least a green day, finishing off of 4 consecutive periods where the bears were taking over. Great to see here, and the question is, will we see this short-term run up leaning towards expectations for earnings? Now, the question is, and what we've seen, and this is why we need to take this with a grain of salt, is because recently we've seen differences that a lot of these mega chip stocks even have been reporting earnings, yet we've seen the stock and the valuation of that stock actually come down. This is why it's important to know that just because earnings is beat does not necessarily mean the stock is always going to be a guarantee to increase in valuation. There are many other factors, and one of the really important ones that lots of eyeballs will be looking at for Palantir is the future guidance, especially looking into 2024. Now, quickly coming off of the charts here, going into the Q3 expectations, what we're guessing and what analysts are pegging is revenue at about $555 million. Now, this is indicating a 16.1% year-over-year growth, and this is basically, this revenue is expected to bring in from government and commercial segments. Now, talking about that, in with Palantir, what the Zacks model says is that the proven model predicts an earnings beat for Palantir around this time. Yes, an earnings beat. That's the prediction from the Zacks consensus. Now, this is taking a combination of the positive earnings per share, and the Zacks rank of number 2, which is rated as a hold. Recently, a few weeks ago, the Zacks rank actually changed from number 3, a hold, and got upgraded to number 2, which is a buy. Now, Palantir, this came from an earnings per share increase prediction of 4.35%. And the Zacks rank of number 2, like I just mentioned. Now, earnings per share is sitting at 6 cents. That's what the prediction is. And we've seen 5 bullish revisions in the last 90 days. So Wall Street has really set a high standard for Palantir, and they do have a big bar to beat. With that being said, guidance is also going to be a very important factor. And looking into what the future is for Palantir. A big indicator and metric that will report or give us predictions on that kind of idea on what the future holds is the customer growth. Last quarter, we saw a 38% growth in terms of customer count. If we see a continued growth in customers, what we are going to conduct is basically an impression or an opinion that the AIP platform is really a great model for this business. And the reason being is because they've recently introduced this within the last 6 months into the Palantir Technologies company, along with many of the other softwares that they have been selling, such as Apollo, Gotham, Foundry. What the AIP Bootcamp does is allows these possible clients to test Palantir technologies and incorporate their softwares for free. And Palantir claims that they can use a 0 to a use case within 5 days. And this is great from a business perspective. And we even saw from Alex Karp in that interview with the BBC on this previous Sunday, talking about how it's great to allow different companies to trial a software, and why wouldn't they trial a software before they decide to purchase it. Another bullish thing looking into Palantir's long-term growth is if we have a gap profitability for Palantir in this earnings, for this will be the 4th consecutive quarter, which can lead and fits the criteria for inclusion within the S&P 500, which can bring a lot of buying pressure into Palantir because there are many ETFs, there are many mutual funds, and many different types of big stock holdings that do track the S&P 500 index. So with that, they also have a strong balance sheet on hand. We know they have a lot of free cash flow with more than $3 billion on hand and basically zero debt. So very minimal debt. Palantir has really shown its great strength in terms of its financials on the balance sheet. And in addition, Palantir is actually down nearly 61% from its all-time high. So with Palantir, where it's sitting at 1480, we could see a lot of volatility here in just the next few days. It'll be interesting to see how the basically stock market prices in the Fed's decision. And I think the job report is also going to have a lot of pricing in to do. Now, with that being said, we've seen different fair value estimates for Palantir. Morningstar, which a lot of people do utilize as a reliable source, rates it at $11 fair value, and that keeps it at about a 10 multiple in terms of the premium that people are right now paying for Palantir. Now, with that, currently, also, many analysts together have a median price target of 1540. Trading right around that line, I think if we can break that 15 area and even possibly break resistance here into the 16s, Palantir could test future resistances. We've seen this in the 18s. We've seen the 52-week high, which is at the 2024 right here. What's really important about this is how Palantir traded during the last quarter earnings. And once we saw it hit in line, we saw an immediate 25% correction. So right here, we're going to have a lot of volatility. Personally, what I predict is possibly we could see a short-term growth, a short-term buying pressure with leading up into expectations of those earnings being reported. And once earnings are reported, I think we possibly could see a sell-off. The reason being is we've seen this with different types of stocks, and also with Palantir, their future guidance is going to be really important. Now, of course, that's just an opinion. We could see Palantir also push to some recent, go higher and higher. But a lot of the bears do have control over Palantir right now, and we're seeing lower estimates, and possibly we could see back into consolidation phases between this 13 and this 15, basically where Palantir is sitting in the middle right now. And talking about Palantir, talking about why is it not for everybody is because it is heavily involved within the AI market and the machine learning software market. And talking about that, a lot of people think that they already have their contracts that they talked about, and even though they are a top bidder at that United Kingdom Health Service contracts, they're saying that, hey, this is possibly already priced into Palantir Technologies. So what future news do we have to keep the momentum behind and the buying pressure behind Palantir? And this is why earnings is going to be very critical. And this is probably going to be one of the most important earnings for Palantir, considering, like I've mentioned before, that this is going to be the first time that the AIP platform is really going to be captured into an earnings report. So lots of interesting things coming from Palantir. We'll be keeping an eye on it, keeping you guys updated. Thank you guys so much for watching. My question is, where do you think Palantir will sit? Do you agree with the Zacks consensus that they will beat expectations? And what do you think is going to happen with the price? Do you think we'll see an increase, a decrease in valuation, or kind of nothing? Lots of exciting times ahead. I'll catch you guys later. Peace out.